a lot of areas we've improved, a lot of areas, still early to tell, but getting better. I think, overall, you guys probably see a different, got a chance to have a different look and a different edge to us. So pleased with the direction that we're headed. We just got to, keep focusing on the process, and that's what we've talked about a lot, as a staff, as a defensive unit with them, and just taking those incremental steps and marginal gains one day at a time.
I think it was yesterday during a tackling drill, I think it was Massey that you called, said that the drill textbook, you then kind of said that the group as a whole has improved so much in tackling. How much of a progression have you seen, maybe even from spring, but certainly from last year?
No, that's a great question. I think, as a group, here's where I need to see it go from drill work to coordinate to team. And, so I think from now to the spring, we've worked on it all summer. They understand exactly how we're asking them to have it done. And, like an example with Brian, you can see the willingness, you see the technique, and then you have plays like yesterday where he makes a hard tackle look easy. And then it's challenging to make the easy tackles easy all the time, and holding him to that standard, because I know we believe how talented and how good of a player he can and should be for us. So I think as a group collectively, it's something we have to keep working on, because we're going to get a limited amount of time to go live, and that's how it should be. You got a talented football team. We need to when it's time to tackle, but we got to take care of each other too. So it's a fine line. That's what we've worked on so much, through individual periods.
Coach Lashley said yesterday that the defense is ahead of the offense at this point, and then followed it by saying, as it should be. Do you agree that the defense is ahead, and why should the defense be ahead early in camp?
Well, I think, first off, you've got, a quarterback, which is the most important part of the offense, that's, super talented, that we all know that's going to be a great player for us. And I think, then you got the guys behind him that have taken, Kevin's played in basically, 1-2 games, and then, a freshman behind him. So I think at that position versus a year ago, you were sitting here with Tanner, who had started a lot of games. So I think that's the guy that touched the ball, and I think, you just see Preston's progression day to day and how much better he's getting. The improv, he makes some unbelievable improv plays. So I think that's, maybe that's part of why he sees it that way. But I think, you also see his growth day to time. So, I think we're making strides in the right direction. I don't know that we're ahead of them, in my opinion. I think there's good give and take on both sides of the ball right now, which is what you want. But as a head coach, I would think, but as a defense coordinator, obviously, we want it pretty one-sided in practice, hopefully. So.
From our perspective, the defensive line looks bigger, more depth, probably a little bit faster. I think Elijah Roberts has looked pretty good. Long question short, what have you seen from the defensive line in kind of the first 4 days, and specifically Elijah?
Depth, we're bigger and we're faster. I mean, those guys run hard. I think Coach Tibbs has done a great job getting them to play hard, to and through the whistle, and hold them to that standards. But it's a lot easier when you have depth. When you're twos and your ones, the drop off is not. There really are no ones and twos. And I think that's how, as a defense, we collectively want to be able to roll out the next group of guys. It's a first wave, it's a second wave. And when you get to that point, that's when you have a chance to have a talented group. So bigger, faster, stronger, and deeper. So,
and then Elijah specifically.
He's really talented. He plays really hard. I mean, he's cramped, I think, almost every day we've been out here, which is, to me, a testament to how hard he plays. And so, I think there's a lot of upside there. And I think there's really good depth at all four of those positions: DN, 3 technique, nose, and bandit. All four of them. We have a quality 3 deep that's pushing each other every day, and so that makes those, those guys in those individual rooms better. Kind of like Cross said earlier in the week.
One of the positions where maybe there isn't a ton of depth is at linebacker. What have you seen from that group? Maybe some young guys needing to step up. Obviously, a guy like Kobe needing to come in and show what he can do early.
Yeah, the group's been really impressive so far to me. Ahmad Walker, you would expect, because he knows the system. I think you guys saw Kilgore as a freshman in the spring kind of turned everybody's heads a little bit of, okay, this guy's got a chance to be, an impact player for him next year. And then Kobe is just getting better every day. I mean, we knew what he was coming out of high school, and then being able to follow and track him and see what he did, in his production at the college level. So I think as he just continues to get acclimated, you'll see him continue to do better and better, and he's feeling more comfortable each day. And so, and then Chris Adamore has really been, really impressive 4 days in. I think in the spring, you know, it was kind of like, how's this going to go? But you felt like there was a lot of upside there. It was just how quick could he make the transition to a brand new position with 1 year of eligibility. And we're different with him on the field from an athletic standpoint. So you look at all those guys, and then, you know, I think Quan's, you know, trying hard to work his way into that mix. And you got 5 guys that you feel pretty good have a chance to be able to help us. So the depth doesn't worry me right now.
Did Adamora play any linebacker in high school? Or is this
No,
all
sir.
new?
All no.
With Adamora making that switch, how much of the success that you've seen early is just his smarts and understanding of the defense, and how much is just overall athleticism, having played safety, and I think going back to high school he also played some receiver and returned kicks?
Yeah, I think the athletic ability, the natural athletic ability shows. Pass rush wise, when he gets to blitz, some of those things. I think Coach Crum and Coach Messer have done a great job with just bringing him along, and really that whole group along, because y'all looked at it and said, okay, we lost a lot of experience, but I think collectively I feel better about the overall athleticism and talent in that room than we had last year, quite frankly. So, you know, I think we got a chance to be pretty good, and I think they've done a great job bringing him along through the spring and the summer process, because it's not easy to teach. It was one thing, you know, Jimmy Phillips never played really inside linebacker last year when we had him in there, but he played outside linebacker. To move from safety to do that with 1 year is not the easiest thing. He's bought into it, and you can see him. He's 236 pounds. You know, he was, you know, he was. They called him the hefty safety last year at times, but he bought into it. Now he's one of the strongest, biggest backers we got. And he's bought into it. You know, like, and I think he's got a chance. He progresses. The sky really is the limit for him. So I think he's bought into it 100%, and that's why you see the success that he's had.
Jonathan McGill talked the other day about how when people think of SMU, they think of offense, and this year's mentality is kind of that we want to be a defensive team. We want to really kind of change the narrative a little bit. It kind of seems like there is a little bit of that kind of swagger and that kind of confidence and push for that. Do you kind of see that kind of motivation with that group?
Well, I just think there's a completely different edge, and I think that starts with leadership. The best teams are player-led teams. The coaches set the expectation, but the players have to take ownership. And I just think this time last year to right where we're at now, it's night and day from that standpoint. It's, you know, hey, you guys go handle your up downs after practice from the previous practice. We give a sheet to the players and they go do it. You know, like, it doesn't need to be. Like, those are the best teams. When Elijah Chapman, when DeVere, when Jonathan McGill, when Brandon Crossley, when Ahmad Walker, Chris Adamore, Chris Megason, like, we've got a lot of really good experienced guys that are upperclassmen that have embraced that role. And I don't think we had that even close to that this time last year.
18 takeaways last year in 13 games. Where does increasing that number rank on your list of priorities going into camp and into the season?
Yeah, I think here's the funny thing for me about takeaways. Like, you are what you emphasize, I guess, is what I've learned. Like, when we've emphasized tackling and fundamentals and effort, and we've worked takeaways, but you haven't. We talk about it, and we'll kind of do the same thing we did last year. But you focus on the fundamentals, and then all of a sudden you have 40 takeaways. And I've had that happen so many times, and then it's okay. All right, we only had 16 takeaways, and then you work on it. Like, everybody's going to do drills. Sometimes they come in bunches. Our goal is 2 a game. 2 a game puts you roughly, you know, top 25 to 30ish in the country, which would obviously put us at, you know, quite a bit more than what we had last year. So the thing that I've seen in spring practice and fall camp is, in particular, our secondary, how many more balls we've got. I mean, just if you go back to, we were catching 2 to 3 a day, most of our spring practices, to, you know, we've come out here, and whether it's corners with picks, safeties with picks, you know, every day somebody's getting the ball in their hands. And at the end of the day, I mean, guys, there's an ability for guys that have a natural knack for getting the ball back and guys that don't, you know, and that, you know, I think some of it takes reps and obviously in the system and comfortability, but you're seeing some of that where, whether it's Ahmad Moses, but like Crossley finishing a 2-minute drill, first play of a 2-minute drill pick ball game yesterday. Mm-hmm. You know, that was great to see, because Cross had 1 pick last year and it took us to the end of the season. And so those guys getting confidence on making plays on the ball, and I think once the more confident you are, the more you're going to see our guys being able to take those chances and make plays, so, for sure.